Okay, here's that script translated with the requested dose of humor and sarcasm. The host strides onto the stage, practically drowning in an excessively white lab coat. His hair's a delightful Rick-esque mess, and his mannerisms scream a Dr. House impersonation. He adjusts his glasses with a flourish, surveys the audience with a look that says, "I'm smarter than you," and begins. 1982. The year Time magazine decided humans were just a little too mainstream to be Person of the Year. You know how it is, Newt Gingrich was busy, and computers were the hot new thing. Basically the tech equivalent of slapping Baby Yoda into any franchise to goose the ratings. And yes, computers back then were as rare as an honest Jedi in the Old Republic. Apollo 11 landed on the moon with a computer packing a whopping 4 kilobytes of RAM. Today, your phone has 2 million times more memory, and you use it for watching cute kitten videos on Instagram. Priorities, people. Now, if you're scratching your head wondering what Apollo and your phone have in common, it's that they're both great at taking you to impossible places. One took you to the moon, and the other makes you think it's a great idea to argue about politics on Facebook. Supercomputers, those majestic behemoths of computational power, are basically like strapping a DeLorean full of plutonium to do complex calculations. In fact, they're so fast, if they were comic book characters, their superpower would be making you feel like a complete and utter moron for thinking Excel is advanced. And speaking of advanced, let's give a shout out to Petrobras. Because who hasn't dreamed of drilling for oil using a supercomputer named Dragão? It's practically living in an RPG where the final boss is a barrel of crude oil. And of course, there are other beasts in the list like Fênix and Andrômeda, which must have come from a list of rejected names for the Avengers. And now, the weather forecast. Because apparently, figuring out if it's going to rain is still a bigger mystery than solving who shot first, Han or Greedo. Using supercomputers, they try to predict the weather with all the precision of Tony Stark building a new Iron Man suit. Basically, a let's throw it all together and see what happens approach. Cosmology. A supercomputer is basically your friend who knows everything about Star Wars, but is way more interested in arguing about how gravity affects the texture of pancakes on the Death Star. And what about protein folding? You know, proteins are kinda like the pixel art of biosystems. Fold them wrong, and the nicest thing you can hope for is a sort of Jabba the Hutt in the form of a degenerative disease. A protein folding simulation record, people, something that could only be more thrilling if the computer was programmed by a team consisting of Isaac Newton and Sheldon Cooper. And that, folks, brings us to the end. If you haven't subscribed and liked yet, imagine that every unsubscribed is a line of code that doesn't compile. Or worse, like trying to use the Force without believing in it. Comment below what you'd name your supercomputer if you could have one. Spoiler alert, HAL 9000 is not an acceptable answer. Thank you, and until next time I try to make you feel inadequate about your ability to solve a quadratic equation. Goodbye, humans.